The VDOM is how can I say it? It's a magical, smart penis. No, I'm just kidding. Um, the VDOM is actually though it's the first ultra-humanistic prosthetic penis that can actually imitate nature, as it can go from flaccid to erect from a push of a button from your smartphone or smartwatch. About 3 months ago, I was in New York and I was talking to this guy at a bar who was telling me about his micro penis, and he was like, actually, I could like go back and forth. And I was like, what do you mean? I didn't know what he was talking about. And that's exactly what he was talking about. He was just like, you just not only do I enhance, what I'm missing in inches, but I can go all fucking night until the battery runs out. And I'm like, damn, I ain't think about that. And I'm like, technically the battery doesn't run out because my name is Glenise Kinard-Moore, the founder of Skimu Tech and the creator of the VDOM, and this is Sextech and Chill.
I'm Yo Big Rube.
And I'm your girl, Sherry J.
And welcome to the show, Glenise. So we've been wanting to have this conversation with you for a hot minute. We initially connected with you, I feel like it's been a few years ago. And then we actually had the chance to work with you a couple of years ago when it was around the time you did TechCrunch, and the feedback you've been getting is so good. So we were really happy that we got to connect and link up. But we've been following the work you're doing. I love what you're doing with the VDOM brand. I love the marketing you do on social media and what your brand stands for and all of that. Can you tell us just a little bit about what your actual brand is? What is the VDOM for folks who are not already familiar with it?
Yeah, for sure. The VDOM is how can I say it? It's a magical, smart penis. No, I'm just kidding. The VDOM is actually though it's the first ultra-humanistic prosthetic penis that can actually imitate nature, as it can go from flaccid to erect from a push of a button from your smartphone or smartwatch. It's an alternative to medication or surgery for anyone who wants to gain an erection. That's the simplest way to put it.
Oh, that's so like nature can also confound you and not work at the inopportune time when you want it to work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the name on demand, but yeah.
That is really cool that you're making that. I want to roll back though. I want to find out who is Glenise and what made Glenise want to make a prosthetic penis. This is really dope. I think it's super novel. I know when I was, we were at an event, not affiliated with South by, but it was down in Austin at South by. And I remember I was talking to some folks at some bar or something. And I don't know how we got on the VDOM, but we got on the VDOM because, that's what it was. It was the young guy, probably in his 20s or 30s, and he was talking about how he had a micro penis, and his friends were talking about it. And I thought at first he was just fucking with me, and capping. He's like, and then his friends came and were like, nah, he's just open about it. And he just be telling everybody when he's a little bit lit. And I'm like, okay, cool. He goes, oh yeah, because we were talking about Sextech and Chill and what we do. He goes, well, you have anything that help me out? Yeah, I'm like, well, what are you looking for? He goes, well, I would like something more and bigger or something like that. I'm like, well, actually, interestingly enough, I know somebody who created a prosthetic penis, the VDOM. And just the way his eyes just lit up, and he was just so happy to he's like, seriously? I'm like, yeah, seriously. So, I'm telling him to go to the website and go to the social and all that. And he was just so happy. And then it was just interesting because he had clued in his whole friend group on it, and they all just seemed super happy for him about the VDOM. And none of them were necessarily direct customers or VDOM. And it was just an organic conversation. So it's it just hit me how it's got and I know we've already talked to you about it, but just so many different groups of people have interest in this that are just going to be served by this. So that's really dope. But anyway, early Glenise, young Glenise, what was your upbringing like? What was your upbringing like that kind of got you into being an inventor, being a creator?
Were you a little inventor?
Yeah, was little Glenise in there taking apart toys and rebuilding them into something new?
Actually, believe it or not, yes. Me and my cousin, we're the same age, we're just separated by I want to say 4 or 5 months. We used to be the kids that would go outside and stay outside all day, or we're in the garage and hunting around my dad's garage trying to figure out like what's in here so we could do something creative. I've made literally go-karts before from scratch. We have made planes. That was a really big mistake where we
Whoa.
literally flew my cousin off the top of a roof.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that was not smart. That go-kart wasn't either. We almost got hit by a car. But so yes, we were
Kids.
definitely, I was definitely always been an adventurous person. Always been just intuitive, like intuitive and just interested in how things work. I didn't know that this would ever connect to anything specific because I will say, pat myself on the back. I have an outgoing personality, so I always thought like marketing and PR would be the space that I would go in because I could talk to anybody on in any situation. But I will say that creative part in building things definitely has come into fruition with the VDOM. I didn't even think I had it in me, but I saw a need, I saw an opportunity, and because of a friend who was in need, and realized like, you know what, you can do anything pretty much. So it's like, why not me? And so I just went full speed ahead with it. But yeah.
Uh, what was it like when, because you go talk about inventing like go-karts or you're like, fun stuff like that. What was it like when you were telling your people about, okay, I'm creating a prosthetic penis? Because we all know, like, depending on where you come up out of, that is not going to be such a straightforward experience. What was that like for you? Where do you come up out of for folks who don't already know?
That is a very everything. Let me say this: every single thing about what I'm doing and who I am and what my background is. If you said it and put it on paper, they would be like, "Yeah, this doesn't match." My family is originally from Mississippi, in the deep South Mississippi, like the sticks, and so definitely, Bible Belt. And I have several pastors and preachers in my family, very religious from that perspective. But I was the only one out of my immediate family that was actually born in Alabama. So Mississippi, Alabama, Bible Belt, we already know. And so it's incredible that because I remember when I got ready to tell my parents actually what I was doing, I waited for like 3 or 4 months. I wanted to make sure that it was so undeniable that no matter how they reacted to it, I would be cool with my decision because I was a little fearful. I had only at that time I had only as identifying as a lesbian, black lesbian woman, I had only come out to my parents. I want to say probably just 10 years before. So they were still, just trying to understand and be open to, and they embraced me, of course, with open arms. But, I just was like, okay, maybe this might be over the edge for them. And, scratching their head of like, why? But I will say, I'll never forget the day that I told them. I told my sister first because I tell her everything. I'm the youngest of three. And they were standing in the kitchen at my parents' house in Alabama. And I said, hey, I'm going to tell y'all something. I've been working on something for the last 4 months. And I'm going to tell you what it is. And then I'm going to just stop. And then you can ask me any questions that you want. And so they were like, okay. And I told them exactly what it was. I was like, hey, I'm creating the first ultra-humanistic penis that actually works. And they were like,
What you talking about, Willis?
you could just see the question marks on their face. And they were like, what? And I was like, I'm creating a realistic prosthetic penis. And they were like, they just stopped for a second. And my dad, out of all people, was the first person to be like, that's going to be amazing.
Damn.
And I was like, yeah. And then he was like, yeah. And then my mom was like, yeah, that's actually freaking amazing. How do you know how to do that? And if it went from there, they've been my biggest supporters since that day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is.
I can't picture any of our parents being like that.
Yeah, not even a little
Maybe
bit.
Why?
Yeah, exactly. Especially considering like my family is also, I mean, both of us come from uber religious backgrounds, and my family also having, roots in the South. And I could only, I mean, shoot, as it is with Fly Media Productions, we were getting grief. Never mind when we started, doing work on Sextech and Chill.
It was just some of the language, like you have bad ass on your website. Like, yeah, because we bad ass.
Yes, exactly. So when we started doing work talking about sexuality, like very specifically, I remember those feelings of like, oh no, y'all are dancing with the devil. Y'all are bringing Satan, inviting Satan into your home, and that was very much kind of, you know, an underlying message or sometimes a surface level message that was in conversations about the work that we do with families. So it's just so interesting. I feel like, I don't know if you are in a very specific community that like y'all just like behave different, or if it's just we have a lot of really skewed messaging when it comes to folks who have a religious background in the South and the Black community. Can you care about to like share a little bit of insights on that?
You know, it's interesting because I have experienced it in so many different ways. Like everything that you're expecting to experience, you know, being shunned or being, looked at a certain kind of way. I've had a tiny bit of those experiences with through, you know, my family and of course their friends and stuff like that. I am the gay cousin. I think I'm probably the only gay cousin. And I've always been forwardly me though. I've always felt like I just couldn't be anybody else. And so being in those spaces, I was just like, well, this is who I am. Can I get a plate or not? You know what I mean? Like, and so I've had the experiences of like a little bit of side eye and questioning, but I come from a very loving family on both sides, my mom and my dad. And so because of that, they probably were talking about me behind my back, and that's fine. That's totally fine. But I was truly accepted at the same time. And so I can't really, you know, relate to some people that have gone through different things. I'm just, you know, blessed to have been able to, you know, overcome, like not even overcome it, but not have to actually experience some of the horror stories that I've heard. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's just a family thing or if it's an environment thing or if it's just the way of the world as it is. Um, I'm in my early 40s right now. And so I don't know if this is a millennial thing and things have changed once my generation hit, or if it had anything to do with just the fact that I come from a really dope ass family. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever it is. I mean, you
A little bit of
definitely,
both. All
yeah.
of the above.
I'm very, very happy for you. Yeah, because we've seen so many different ways that experience can play out. So I'm happy for you. What is like kind of, do you attribute your ability to just be you no matter what to anything? Like, what were some of like the influential forces in your life that nurtured that in you?
The first thing that comes to mind, just popping in my head, was the fact I think actually more than anything, it's probably the fact that I'm a ex-athlete. So I've played basketball. I played every sport pretty much since the age of like 5. And being an athlete and you want to be the best athlete you could possibly be, you have to come with a certain level of confidence. You can't really care about who's watching because if you start to get into your head, you won't perform well, right? So I think it's actually serves from that as a baseline, and then the fact that my mom is very much so strong when it comes to like, and I just hate to say it, but she's like, fuck them. Who gives a shit what people think? Like she doesn't. She's always instilled that in us, um, probably to like the 10th degree. Because she's like, you don't need no friends. Fuck them. They don't want
That's
to.
dope, Glenise. Because we grew up in an environment of like be all things to all people. Like it was literally you be a chameleon. They want you to be this, you be that. Someone else wants you to be this, you be that too. It's
We're
not
being what your
possible.
mom was for you, for our kid.
Yeah, that is dope.
That's our like, we're changing things that way.
That's
Yeah.
what's up.
Shout out to your mom for that.
That's what's up. You know, people, and I'm not going to digress, but people don't understand the impact that parents and their environments as young people have on the rest of their entire life.
Yep.
Yep.
My dad is a little bit more, hey, let's all get along, and you know, a little bit more passive and stuff like that. So I had best of both worlds, which I definitely have a mix of a personality on. But I will say I was very much so imprinted on very early about, you know what, stand 10 toes on whatever you say, be loyal, and stand your ground for yourself and have boundaries. So I think that that's something I've carried throughout my life, and sports just enhance it to another level.
That's dope. That is really dope. Well, I'm happy for you. I'm happy that you came up the way you did because, shoot, that's why we're getting the stuff we're getting like the VDOM. We know several people come up out of Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, obviously Georgia, and stuff who come up out of various religious tradition. is there anything that stood out to you with the experience of being a black lesbian woman coming out of the church? Like, what are the differences you see today that maybe you saw coming up? What was it like for you to come out? Like, what was that experience like?
I will say it was definitely a mixed situation because when I came out at the age of 21. I think I had just turned 21 and finally basically decided to live in my exact truth. I had a boyfriend for like 4 years. Thank goodness we went to different colleges. I'm sorry. But we went to different colleges, so I was able to like still explore without any type of pressure. So that helped me out a lot. But we broke up, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just be me. And I just so happened to have my first encounter at that time with a woman, and I was like, this is where it's at. I have been trying to suppress this and push this to the side for way too long. And so I think that with that being said, like coming out at an older age, I was already like, you know what, this is just going to be me. I hid it just a little bit from my family just to make sure this is exactly who I was, and I wasn't just being a Gemini that I am, and like just being fluid because I definitely, could have had the possibility of that being until I do like 100%. No, I'm pretty damn gay.
I'm a homosexual. I'm a homosexual.
Um, and so coming out for me, when I first came out, I was I like to make sure that I know exactly what I'm talking about so I can stand 10 toes on it. Again, going back to what my mom said. And so when I first came out, I actually was here in Atlanta because I actually came to Atlanta to play basketball for Georgia State University. That's how I ended up here. And so I just never went home because who wants to go back to Alabama after being an ATL, right? And so I've always been very spiritual and connected to God, and always went to Christian churches. And I remember one time I was going through a very hard time because in the mix of all of this happening at one time, I blew out both of my knees. I blew out both of my knees my senior year in college, and so I remember the doctor telling me you can never play again at all, or you'll be on a walker by the age of 30. And so I was like, okay, my basketball career is over. I'm expecting to go overseas. I'm expecting to keep going because I love the game. And so I got pretty depressed. And so I was going through therapy through the university. And then I was also going to church. I used to go to a church here in Atlanta, a Baptist church. And I remember going to seek counseling for the depression, for being understanding that I'm never going to be able to play again and not knowing like, what do I do now? And so I remember going there, and I kid you not, as I'm talking to the counselor and I'm telling him, I'm having these feelings of depression that I don't even know how they're impacting me, but some days I don't necessarily want to be here. And so the very first thing out of this man's mouth after I said, some days I don't want to be here, and I'm also realizing that I'm a lesbian woman, he could care less about me saying I don't want to be here. And he actually just focused on the fact that I said that I'm a lesbian woman. And that right there in that moment made me realize that religion and certain beliefs are not necessarily spirituality. Because if anything, it would have been at the forefront was the fact that I'm saying I don't want to be here anymore. But you're so focused on being a lesbian, and that was like probably the biggest impactful thing of my entire coming out story. Outside of that, the people that love me and the people that support me have never shunned me, not one day. And thank goodness for that, because I do need a support of my environment. My family were embracing, and they were just like, okay, who cares? We feel like you were gay all your life. I'm like, yeah, I was. And so, that part wasn't anything, but it showed me that there is an opposition to this, and that there is something where my sexuality is more important than my life to some people. And it made me realize that. So that's my full circle coming out story. That one little piece of, negative, but everything else has been positive. Thank goodness for me, because there's so many other people in this world who've gone through horror stories, and I'm just blessed that I wasn't susceptible to that.
Yo, thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry that happened to you. It does not surprise me because I know the stuff we've gone through with the church. So like, it'd be hard for me to be
We were
surprised.
unfortunately shunners
Yeah,
ourselves.
exactly. So
Even though it wasn't what we believed, just
We still
make that
we
clear
still
to
blind,
newcomers.
yeah,
It's
but
not
we
what
still,
we believed, but we abided by the rules.
yeah, exactly. Until we finally didn't. And
Yeah.
like I like to say, until we finally got our head out of our ass and
Yeah.
said, no, we got to do what actually feels right, conscious wise,
Exactly.
regardless of what the church says. How do you have anything you would say to folks who are like in the generations behind you, who are trying to find their way, who are trying to figure out what their identity looks like, finding community, finding that inner strength, developing that, like any resources that you turn to or books or anything like that? Because I'd love, you're a person. I really appreciate your insights. I appreciate you as a person, your integrity and all that. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people who would too. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I would say, if anything, it's about environment. It's about environment, and it's about the things that you put into your mind, and then what, at the end of the day, you can always stand on your truth on. So, when I say environment, those are my resources. I haven't picked up a book that says I'm gay now what or anything like that. I don't even know if that's a real book or not. But what I have done is make sure I surrounded myself by people who would actually uphold my boundaries that I have for myself, and let me be who I am and explore who I need to be without any judgment. Because that's another thing, unfortunately, sometimes in the LGBTQ community, a lot of communities, there are these degrees of separation that are completely insane to me. How does organization, geez, brain in business mode, but how does a community shun each other, and be judgmental towards each other when we're all going through some of the same struggles? Like, that junk is like mad shit crazy to me. So I say definitely watch your environment, be in a space that is safe, and then also making sure that it's a space that you can actually, not have judgment, so that you can actually find yourself and grow. Like, who I was 5 years ago ain't even the same who I am today. And you want to be in an environment to where you can grow and be yourself and become the better self, a better, best version of yourself. But outside of that, whatever your truth is, stand on it. Be able to defend it if you have to. You shouldn't have to defend anything, but at least be so strong within who you are and your truth that you are able to defend it regardless, without even actually saying a word. So to me, it's about environment, standing on your truth, and just having set boundaries.
I love the idea of like encouraging people to stand on business. I think we need more of that.
And finding your own path. I noticed on your Instagram stories that you are very spiritual. Do you still so is the church part of your life today? Or is
Yeah,
it more so God in your life, and what does that look like?
it's actually a combination, because I do have a church that I love to go to, here in Atlanta, is Buckhead Church, but I do live in South Fulton, as well, so I don't go all the way to Buckhead every Sunday.
Yeah, traffic be real.
Even on a Sunday, right? Yeah, boy, I tell you what.
I'm already doing the math in my head. Like,
But your God understands, right? If I was to tell Ruben, like, if you be justifying things, I'm like, but my God thinks
That part.
differently.
No, and that's the real, like, Sherry, that's a real thing, though, because I truly believe that we all have our own God. We all have, like, the highest of the high. He's one entity and one person. But there's way too many of us on this earth to say that, oh, your God is exactly like mine is. I think that it's one big entity, but we definitely all have our own gods, because, I mean, how else is the message going to get actually through us? You know what I mean? Because somebody has to talk in our language, right? So that's my thought process. But yes, I am. I do identify as a very spiritual person. I feel like I couldn't even make it day to day if I didn't have that spiritual aspect for myself 100%. I talk to God all day, every day. God has heard more about the VDOM than anybody on this earth.
yeah, I love that.
So that's just real talk. And so
And so,
I wouldn't make it if I didn't.
and how did you find a church that is accepting of all of you, that you feel good and you can be your whole self at?
Absolutely. If you
That's
walked
awesome.
into Buckhead Church, you would be like, "Whoa, where are we?" Because it doesn't even feel like Atlanta. It just feels like we're in a whole different world. Honestly, it's very diverse, very open, and it's nothing that has to do with how church is supposed to be. It's about the connection with God, and that's the only focus. Nothing else matters other than your well-being and your connection with God. And so, again, it goes back to those environments and spaces that you feel safe in.
That's
I really
really cool.
appreciate hearing. Oh,
Yeah, I
sorry.
was just gonna say that's really cool. We were actually recently talking about this, whether we were like anti-religion or like we're definitely not like we're not anti-choice. Like if we believe everybody should be able to do whatever they want, if that feels good and right for them, that's their thing. I've been more like I haven't seen a religion that allows space for people to be themselves and without all these restrictions and rules. So I think that's really cool that you have, you know.
Yeah, I think that's really dope. That's why, like, I think it's an important question to ask too, because I feel like you are representative of what I would love to see religion like lived out in reality versus what we typically see. It's like that's why I feel like, and I already had this sense about you. That's why I'm glad we asked the question, because I feel like if more people on both sides, because like while I'm not religious at all, I appreciate all like my religious friends who are like you. I very much appreciate y'all. Like you don't even know, especially coming out of a uber restrictive, hyper fundamentalist conservative church that was just really fucked us up. And then I meet folks like you, and I have friends like you, and several other friends who like are deeply believe in their faith in God or their their spiritual practices, but the way y'all practice is what is the difference.
Yep.
Obviously your values and all of that, but it's like the way you live on those values, how you engage with the world and see the world and other people. Like you don't even know how it's like. It doesn't, for me, it doesn't even have to be a thing that it like does anything for faith in me because I don't have any. But what you do is like you reinforce my faith in humanity and my renewed appreciation for the folks that I know that are religious. Like I like want so much good for y'all because you don't know how much good you're doing just by being you out in the world and being visible with it. It's a huge thing to me because I mean, once you've had the negative of religion, you're going to always notice the people who are doing it very differently in a positive sense. And I see that in you. And I just very much appreciate that so much.
For sure. And I do just want to make one correction. I do not identify as a religious person by any means. I don't believe in religion.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I didn't
No,
mean to put
it's
that
not.
on you.
I definitely find myself to be spiritual because I know that I could not exist and keep doing what I'm doing and going through the hurdles and going through the headaches of life, period, without God. And so I just want to make sure because I don't believe in religion.
I'm
Um,
so sorry. That's my
I,
bad. Sorry about that.
it's
But
all
that's
good.
interesting. What kind of church is it if it's not, is it not a religious
Non-denominational.
church?
Oh, do
Oh,
you, I
okay. So
know this
that
isn't a
makes sense.
religious thing, but can you explain more about that? Like, what is that like pragmatically to be part of a member of a non-denominational church and
Yeah.
not being like compelled to have to be under the umbrella of a specific religious structure, but still being allowed to practice your spirituality. Can you, oh, I'm so sorry. Can you also practice your spirituality different from somebody else in the pew 3 rows down from you? Like,
Absolutely.
can you share, like, I'm super like, thank you for sharing this, Glenise. Like, I'm sitting here like,
No,
yo,
it's
we
all
in
good.
school right now.
It's all good. First off, I think that there's no right or wrong way to have a spiritual connection with God. Like you could do better. Everybody can always do better because what's the whole point is to be able to walk as God wants us to and walk in His image, right? But I don't think that there's a right way or wrong way because He made us exactly who He is, and we have to learn on our own basis by through the way that He wants us to, right? Or she, by the way. And so I feel like, religion, when I hear the word religion, what comes to mind immediately, and I could be very wrong about this, but this is how I look at it. Religion to me is the way that the spirituality or your connection with God is practiced, right?
Hmm.
It's a practice that was created by somebody. And I don't know who that somebody is. So I see religion as Buddhism, Christianity, or Muslim. I see that as religion. And to me, my problem with religion is the fact that you take these interpretations, which is why there's different religions in the first place. We're all still saying that there is the Most High, and there's, it could be Allah, it could be God, it could be Jesus, it could be so many different things. And the fact that, you start to take these religions and then you started to use it as a weapon, that is my problem with religion. There is no way in the world that a religion or forget that, being anything that's used as a weapon to harm or destruct or break down or to do a thing to someone, to me, that's not of God. So therefore, I tie that back to religion. And that's why I say I don't identify as somebody that's religious. Now, the church that I go to is definitely non-denominational, but at the same time, you can tell that they have a Christian foundation. And that's fine with me. That's totally fine. I mean, I feel like I have a Christian foundation because that's how I grew up, 100%. My wife's mom is, a Jehovah's Witness. I've been to a Jehovah's Witness church before. Yes.
We were,
You
so
did
that's
it.
why you like, damn.
Damn. Oh my God, it is a small ass world.
Yes, it
That's
is.
so wild.
Yeah. So I'm guessing y'all come from Jehovah's.
That is
Oh
exactly
yeah,
where we come
that shit
from.
fucked us all the way the fuck up.
35 years for me.
It just shows me though, it's like it's the people, it's not the religion. It's the people who are holding the torches. And so, it makes me focus on the human being, and I respect the human being, not necessarily, again, going back to this whole religion thing. People get lost in that. People get lost in that. And I find that some of the most scariest, meanest, nastiest people are the ones that call themselves the most religious.
Yep.
Oh my God. Say it again for the people in the back.
Before a drug dealer will. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I'm just saying. I'm just
I
saying.
mean, I had people who were in the underground economy who treated me very, very well. So, and I had people in religion who treated me very poorly. So,
Exactly.
I mean, I myself was in religion and behaved very poorly just by following its mandates that
Now
were
you know why we
supposedly
were
being
shunners.
loved. Yeah, exactly.
It was mandated. Like
It
if
was
you
mandated.
were, yeah. I mean, people who follow, if you follow us, you know our story. That it's not as simple. Well, I don't believe that, so I'm not going to do it. Your whole
Right.
entire life flips upside down if you don't. So
Like a
yeah.
Fresh Prince joint.
Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down.
But we found our way out, and we're living our values now. And
Well, I
we
am
are
so
happy.
happy that y'all found your way out though, because real talk, that's not the way God wants us to live. Like
No.
that is not His point. Like I don't think that was ever the point. Somebody
Yeah.
got it wrong because people read on a third grade level, and the Bible is over third grade. So period.
Yep. I think that there's a lot of challenges happen when people frame everything as being, so, I mean, there's a lot of issues I have with religion and God and all that, but the literalness, the black and whiteness, all of that, to the point where like I have zero, like I'm probably as close to atheist you could be without being like stone cold. I mean, I am, but I'm not. I'm always open to being wrong about things, but I know I'm absolutely do not fuck with religion in any way. I had to do like the whole deep dive and deconstruction and learning about. So I learned about a bunch of religions. Obviously, a lot of it more surface level.
Yeah.
But it also, that process, interestingly enough, also made me more appreciative of how different people live their faith and all of that. So like, because I came at it at first, I was just so broken and justifiably angry, and I've been
only
betrayed and all of that. And then when I came out the other side, it took a while. I feel a lot better about, like, okay, well, not every religion is so predatory and betraying.
No.
And then even more importantly, because I mean, I haven't found a religion that doesn't do a lot of messed up stuff, but a lot of the people in a lot of the groups
Most of
are
them
not the same.
Yeah, are good
And most,
intention.
yeah, exactly.
Good hearts. It's usually the leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rules.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of the rank and file are just, they're trying to do the best they can to be good people. Unfortunately, you can get a lot of good people to do a lot of terrible things in the name of religion. There's a quote about that. I just can't remember what it is. But yeah,
I mean, we are living in Trump's America.
exactly. And we are hearing about Christian nationalism
Yeah.
and all of that. So
Now, like real talk, I think, and this is like a little bit aside, but one of the things that truly changed my thought process when it came to religion, spirituality, all these things, is that I studied 4 years of African religion when I was in college. And that's what really woke me up. Because if you look at the basis of African religion, it's sort of kind of very similar to what we see, these days. It's just without all the negative pieces of it. Everything was based on truth. It was based on, the right thing to do and how to treat people nice and good and kind first, and then go from there, because that's the basis of God in the first place. Lead with love. And that's how African religion was. So I'm looking like, I'm comparing it to, and I'm like, yeah, throw all of it out the window. Like, let me just lead with like being a good human being and doing the best that I possibly can, to respect, the blessings that God has given me, period, at the end of the day. So.
I can very much appreciate that. I think that's one of the cool things about like digging into like anthropological stuff, history and all, and getting more acquainted with stuff that we're not really going to ever be fed directly unless we just have an interest to find it. I feel like I've gone into this direction pretty heavily.
Let's switch back.
That's what we do, Ruben.
that is what
Now
we
let's
do.
get into
Like,
some VDOM, some sex tech.
Yes, let's get into some sex and some tech and all that kind of fun stuff.
Of what has it been like to be a Black queer woman in tech, and is traditional tech and sex tech like the same when it comes to your identity and how you feel you fit in, or do they have different? Do they feel different to you?
So
Good question.
tech is tech. That was an awesome question, Sherry, like 100, because I have this debate all the time as I'm navigating the fundraising world, traditional startup life, VC, blah, 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 blah. I've had so many people say, what you're doing is not tech. And that shit pisses
Wow.
me no end. Like, it
Some nerve.
no end. But I used to get pissed off about it, but then I realized it's like, oh, they're ignorant as fuck.
Yep.
They don't even know what technology is. So that means that their foundation and their understanding of what technology is, they don't know. It's not me that they are not, they're trying to shun. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But I realized like 90% of these people in the VC world don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Mm-hmm. There's a few that do. And I respect them a lot. But sex, tech, anything that has technology baked into it, I don't give a fuck if it was one wire touching another. To me, that's technology. Anything that can be augmented or manipulated by code or anything to that degree, that is technology. Anything that literally can be utilized and leveraged as a tool or as some type of resource to enhance or make a person's life better, that is technology. Like, that's the basis of technology. So you're telling me, it's like, and I used to tell them, so before software was created and inventions were created, the light bulb, you telling me the light bulb ain't fucking tech? The light bulb is tech, man. Like, what are you talking about? And that's why I come back every time and they're like, oh. I'm like, yeah, dumbass. So my point is like, technology, like, I've seen, and I've had the privilege to see all of it because my background is truly in information security and cybersecurity. And so I've seen the software side of the house. I've seen the network infrastructure side of the house. That is all technology. And now I've taken that software and network infrastructure and I've actually have it as the baseline and the backline of the VDOM itself, because outside of just the product actually being able to be autonomous and move on its own and do a thing and change the, I guess, basically probably the experience for a person who is, trying to gain an erection. Outside of just that, there's software on the back end that's making their entire interaction with the prosthetic a whole nother level. It operates it. It does this thing. It's taking in data, very secure data, by the way. But it's taking in data so that we can actually take that data and teach, our healthcare system. And so to me, all of this is technology. Getting somebody off with a vibrator and literally teaching them more about themselves and their climaxes and their sexual experience, that is technology. So yes, sex tech is real tech, and everybody who says anything different, you just stupid.
Yeah. Glenise does not play.
I believe it strongly.
That's shoot. Like this, I feel like real leaders are going to stand on business. Mm-hmm. You know what's up. You're not going to be flip flopping.
Nope.
So I appreciate that. You said a bunch of things that I very much appreciated, but when you talked about the security aspect. So, and then you talked about, and it makes me think of data privacy. But then I'm like, then you talked about an erection. I'm like, I've been going so deep on the other stuff. Maybe I'll go to the more fun thing. Tell us about. I'm just gonna go there.
Real quick, let's just real quick, because this is a big thing for us though
Okay.
too. The privacy part is real quick. How secure is it? Do we have to worry about? Because we saw this on another podcast. You answered it well, and I would love to inject it into our own. Do people have to worry about it being hacked when they're wearing it and getting a random?
You're not going to get an erection
Hacked
when you're
erection.
walking in line or when
Yeah.
you were hanging out with
No.
with your significant other. They're not going to be able to exploit that.
It is impossible because the only aspect of the connection and communication between the VDOM and the mobile app, unless we are controlling it ourselves because we're doing an update, there is no internet connection. That's the first part. So it
Ooh.
does have Wi-Fi built into the actual motherboard of the Bluetooth module. Well, that didn't make sense. If anybody knows what I'm saying right now, that didn't make sense. What I'm saying is the Bluetooth module has a Wi-Fi aspect to it, but we have it completely dormant and cut off at all times. The users cannot turn it on. It cannot be leveraged. And that's where your biggest security risks come into play. Or you have outside, offenders that may gain access, is because of the actual communication interception that's happening over the internet.
So is it just not broadcasting? Like it's not passively broadcasting at all that it exists?
It's completely turned off until we need to do a over-the-air update, basically at the end of the day. So we'll turn on
okay.
Wi-Fi, we'll drop our firmware through our system, and then we will update the firmware on the actual manual device itself. But outside of that, there's only thing that there is a communication connection is via Bluetooth. And as we all know, Bluetooth can be susceptible, but that means that somebody is in 300 feet of you, and if you ain't freaking in public, then you safe at the end of the day. The only other aspect of, when it comes to security and privacy is our databases, of course. But what we've done since the beginning of time, because again, I come from a background in information security and privacy, from the very first day, security has always been at the forefront. So if you go into our databases, you would not be able to match up anyone. We know how they're matched up and they're linked to each other. But if somebody hacked in, they wouldn't even know what they were looking at.
So that's dope. So it sounds like not only do you, I'm assuming, encrypted connections, but you've separated your tables and separated the IDs. And so it would make it very hard or impossible for them to connect data to the different people. So I would assume that means y'all will never end up on that Mozilla privacy not included list in a negative sense. Because I know some other sex toy, and although y'all's is a prosthetic and not a sex toy, I do know like some other sex tech related devices have ended up on that list. And I'm so glad that Mozilla is doing that. If y'all haven't heard of it, privacy not included is a great way to know what organizations and what products are doing with your data. But see, it's interesting too, because I mean, y'all are not the size of a massive multinational. You're not an enterprise, and yet y'all have been able to accomplish this. We should be asking, why are we allowing other companies to not behave the same? And obviously part of it is because there's so much money in selling people's data, which is crazy. But it's true. I mean, that is essentially, that is the motivating force of that. What do you have any advice for people in choosing sex tech when you're thinking about data and security? What, like any top couple of things you would recommend people consider, think about, get background information on when they're making a choice?
Because for me, it's like I know you're similar. Like a lot of people seem very interested in all the apps and they're excited by them and all because they do really cool shit. And I'm like,
Right.
we've been looking at a lot of new stuff, and I'm like, oh, it's connected to music. Oh, you can connect it to your porn or whatever. I'm like, that would be so cool.
Right.
But my instinct is always like, I don't trust it. I don't trust an app. I'm afraid of like what they're collecting on me. Who's gonna get access to it? What data is out there?
How much are they monitoring and listening in order
Yeah.
to sync in line with the porn and erotica you're watching and all
how
that?
private is it really?
Yeah, and how what is being sent back to the home office, so
Yeah.
to speak?
You know what? Real talk though, and Ruben, I know you've heard this before, and Sherry, I'm sure you have too, just because of what you're saying, the fact that you're even scared to deal with certain things. But this is the truth of it. At the end of the day, nothing is safe, right? Like that is
Yep.
the thing we say that in the cybersecurity world every single day. It's about due diligence. It's about putting your best foot forward. So for consumers, There is nothing you can do except for, to me, it's just at least one thing, right? Like if you're really concerned about these things, because at the end of the day, somebody could tell you to their blue in the face that they're safe. They've done all the things, right? This is my biggest thing. If they don't mention security on their, at least on their website, don't trust them.
Yep.
That is my thing. If they don't say in their terms and agreements and all these types of stuff, something that has to do with actually thought process put towards securing your data, that's the baseline thing you got. Other than that, that's it. That's literally it. They can, act like it. They can put up, TLS encryption. They can put up, SSL, all these stuff. But at the end of the day, if they're really truly not talking about it outside of just these logos, then at the end of the day, I would take a little bit of caution there.
I appreciate that, especially because they love to employ acronym soup to try to make people think it's more rock solid than it really is.
Exactly.
So what do we look for to let us know that it is at least a little more secure than maybe the most basic of security?
Sherry's coming with the good question.
I know, right?
I'm taking
I want
notes.
to try the apps.
Yeah, because that vibrator we
with
just
peace
talking
and
about would be
confidence.
dope. Yes.
No, like real talk. I think that, at least like for us, we map it out in our terms of agreements. We map it out in all of our legal documents. We tell you exactly how we do what we do, right? We don't give the keys to the kingdom, of course, because we don't want to give the answer to the freaking hackers.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, we lay it out. So, I mean, if you're really concerned about it, if you're truly, truly concerned about it, go read the legal documents. That's the first piece. But outside of that, there really isn't anything else. You have to identify what they're actually even asking you for. That's the biggest piece.
Yeah.
Like, why are you asking?
And what you're comfortable
Exactly.
giving. Yeah.
Are they giving you credit, credit check level questions? Are they trying to triple dog identify you? You know what I mean? Like, those are like the red flags and stuff like that you can actually look out for. Like, why do you even need to know my mother's maiden name? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what level are they asking you certain pieces of data about yourself? How deep are they trying to go? Those are the things that would be the red flags for me as a consumer, which they are, you know what I mean? At the end of the day. And then also, what do they exactly want access to?
I was just going to ask, device level access, what are they looking for?
Exactly. We download an app. They're like, can we have, access to your photos? Can we have access to, your camera, your contacts? That's a no for me. You know what I mean?
Well, why? Why do you need my microphone to be a notes app? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Can we shoot a picture of you every 30 seconds?
Exactly. Why do you need access to my entire library of photos on my phone?
Exactly.
Hell no, you ain't getting that. Listen, y'all ain't gonna have me on TMZ one day when I blow up. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm putting it out there, but yeah.
So now we know VDOM is a secure app. We don't have less to worry about.
We have put our best foot forward with security since day one. That's
Thank
what I
you
can
for
say.
that. So, want to tell the folks all the fun things they can do with it?
Yes, the answer is anything. Okay, I get these questions all the time of like, "Hey, what can the VDOM go in this hole? Can it go in that hole?" The VDOM can go anywhere you want it to go.
So
Yeah.
like, that's dope. So we're talking about anal sex, vaginal intercourse, and oral sex with the VDOM.
Absolutely. It can go in your ear. It can go in your mouth. It can go, it can be a pillow. It could be whatever you want it to be.
Damn, pillow sounds interesting. Sounds like
I never heard of that one. I mean, a desire for that.
TMI, but I was watching a movie the other day. And,
oh shoot. Okay, I cut you off. You were being serious, and I got jokes.
Nah,
So
we good.
tell us about the fun stuff that it can do.
So the main thing is that it moves, right? At the end of the day, we wanted people to have the most humanistic experience that they possibly could, right? People are like, why the mobile app? We don't want people to have to dig around in their pants to find the manual button. I mean, it's as simple as that. That was it. That was all. They're like, oh, you're trying to make this a whole other level. No, we literally 90% of people interact with their cell phones and smartphones and smartwatches at some point during intimacy. So we took that data and said, okay, let's just make a remote control. So
Is
people
it still one hand operation too?
Yes,
So have one hand on your partner and one hand
yes,
on your phone, and
one
you good
hand
to go.
operation, tried and tested. Um, but it could definitely go from flaccid to erect. It can definitely be utilized for penetration of any sort in any orifices. And it can actually be worn throughout your day-to-day activities. I've gone skating with wearing the VDOM. I have gone
Oh,
out to restaurants. I have gone to concerts. I have been all over the place wearing my VNOM myself, and it's just a part of the human body. So that's the three main things about the VNOM that makes it different, and then that also shows and highlights exactly what it can do. It's a
that
true
is dope.
body part.
I love how you talked about on a podcast about how the spontaneity is a big part of it as well, because you can wear it if you're going out, like you were talking about going to a movie or whatever, and what happened? And you end up in the backseat of the car or whatever, like
I've been in
wherever,
a lot of
wherever.
Which
vaccines.
is nice.
Yeah, and you, like you said, you just pull out your phone versus like you. There's no way to like. I mean, there probably is, but like quick and easy access, like you were saying. I
Because
thought
you
that
can
was
put it on
really
your
smart.
favorite playlist and
Yeah.
start your VDOM up at the same
At the
time.
same damn time.
I mean, that's cool. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious too, because one of the things that you had said in an interview we watched is that if you're someone who has a penis, you could still potentially wear the VNOM and have a penis. And what I'm thinking is that could literally give you the opportunity to like handle your business with your penis, then pull your VNOM on and keep handling business, then take your
Oh,
VNOM off,
that's
handle
actually a good
business
idea.
again, then pull that VNOM back on and wear you out.
That's a good idea.
I'm just saying, I'm like, I love that idea.
Ruben, like real talk, that I just heard that for the first time about 3 months ago. I was in New York and I was talking to this guy at a bar who was telling me about his micro penis, and he was like, actually, I could like go back and forth. And I was like, what do you mean? I didn't know what he was talking about. And that's exactly what he was talking about. He was just like, you just not only do I enhance, what I'm missing in inches, but I can go all fucking night until the battery runs out. And I'm like, damn, I didn't think about that. And I'm like, technically the battery doesn't run out because
That is dope.
only uses battery power when it's going from flaccid to erect. So you're talking about 30 seconds of battery power. My battery
Shoot.
lasts for a very long time.
Longer than we will. Longer than your heart will last.
I mean, that part.
Unless you're Usain Bolt and you've been like running, and you built up that stamina. Good luck to you.
Hell of a workout, though. Hell of a workout. So,
Well, they say, isn't it something like 100 calories? I don't know. Sex burns a lot of calories,
yes,
but
it does,
shoot, that is dope.
I never thought about that till he said that. So you
Well, I
saying
mean-
it now is hilarious.
When I saw it, that was the first thing I thought was like, okay, cool. This would be a way to try out a lot of different things. That'd be like a hell of a lot of, and I know while it is a prosthetic, I'm like, well, I could put a prosthetic to use in that way, and I enjoy the hell out of it. Tell us about like,
You're like, all right, whatever you say. Like,
what
yeah,
what
nah.
kind of like options does it come with? What kind of, and I'm gonna ask all the questions I know a lot of guys are gonna ask. And I know not just guys, but I know like the guys I've talked to have asked a lot of these questions. So I'm asking these questions on behalf of them as well.
Well, before we talk about the additional options, could we just briefly mention the use cases? Who it may, your like primary audience or customer base,
Yeah, for sure.
and
So
then what do
we,
you do for them?
yes, no, for sure. When I originally started building the product, it was LGBTQ community at the forefront, right? And so I was specifically thinking about lesbians who wanted to have spontaneous sex, but then also trans men who bottom surgery, gender affirming surgery wasn't an option for. And so that was the main focus for the first like 6 months. We started putting the word out probably about 8 months into the game. And when we started putting the word out on the internet, it just blew up to a whole nother use case that I didn't even see coming. And that's where the whole, like, I didn't even know what a micro penis was at the time. I did not know that men with ED who didn't want to take medication and didn't want to have to share their partner were going to sex toy stores and buying strap-ons and utilizing them. I didn't even know that was a thing. And then we have like people who have physical disabilities, wheelchair bound, were born with muscular, disabilities and stuff to that degree. People who have spinal cord injuries. In the first 2 years of a spinal cord injury, erectile dysfunction is like 99%. And so I didn't realize like these were all different walks of life that could utilize and leverage the VDOM. And so at this point, still at the forefront, just probably because of the way that we market it, is still a majority LGBTQ focus. But even amongst that group, we don't really necessarily know all the specifics, but we definitely have a lot of people that have erectile dysfunction on, excuse me, that have been our beta testers, but then also a lot of people with physical disabilities.
I love that because it feels like y'all, and I just took it from you. I'll give it back to you. I promise. I feel like the lesbian women who being some of the original testers are probably why it's as good as it is, because of having so much experience with strap-ons and all of the failures around how those might be set up, like logistically and all that. Because I know you talked about convenience, comfort, and all of that. So I'm thankful that you went at it the way you did, because all of your focus group, your testers have made it like what it is today. When you said about the injury, one thing a lot of people don't think about, that I know we've talked to you about it in the past, but like there's a ton of veterans who have had injuries to their genitals who can benefit from this. And then one of the other things that I don't always think about is like motorcycle accidents and other and then industrial accidents where people have their genitals. And it's like, I know like every time I say it, guys are always like, yo, oh, hold your junk. Like, oh, I don't want to even imagine that. But the reality is, at some point, some people don't have to imagine it because that shit happens. Now, what do? You know, it's day 2 or it's day 190 after all your surgeries and skin grafts and reconstruction, and you still have been left not feeling whole.
Yeah.
And now you've made a prosthetic that can help with maybe that last 10 yards or whatever.
So that was my question. My question for the people who are considering it as an alternative to surgery, what should they know about it?
For sure. They should know that, it is definitely a part of their body, which is why we made it a wearable. You have to understand, like, a lot of people have to understand there is a complete difference between a product, sex toy, prosthetic, anything to that degree that could still not be a wearable. There's a whole difference there. And so I think that people should understand that it is definitely a true wearable, which is why we advertise it as being able to go over what's already there from an anatomy perspective. It doesn't matter if you have a penis, if you have a vagina, it doesn't matter what's already there. It's still going to be comfortable and conform to your body. So that's the biggest thing that I like to let people know, because I tell you what, I was just talking to a potential investor about 2 months ago, and he was just like, I'm out. I don't think I can go forward with this investment because I just can't see it going over my jump. And I'm like, I understand what you're saying, because it's like layer on layer on layer. Like that was his thought process. I was like, make a fist, take the VDOM and set it up against your body and watch what happens. And it literally started to conform because of the way that we made the back end of the lip of it. It started to conform around what was there. I'm like,
Yo,
and
that's
he proved
dope.
it. I proved it. And he was like, oh, shit.
Because a lot of times you don't think about, at least even a lot of men or a lot of people who own a penis don't think about anatomically when it's flaccid, what does it actually look like? A lot of times we're thinking about it when it's erect, but anatomically, once it's flaccid, it's a completely different situation.
Well, what if, am I interrupting you?
No, jump in.
What if you get an erection while you're wearing it?
Well, that's the part. I mean, we are in the business for people who can't get an erection. So if you do, I mean, great.
Would a micro penis gets an erection if they're wearing it?
To be honest, I don't know the answer to that, because we haven't had that use case yet. That would be really good feedback that we could hopefully get from someone who, experiences.
And in that case, you have talked about the possibility for the future of making a sleeve for those type of situations as well, right?
Absolutely. So there's several different levels of technology that we want to incorporate. And one of them is definitely going to be our sleeve that actually fits around what is already there. That is going to be a custom sleeve. We've learned that that's what it needs to be, because it's just too many variables. Everybody's different, right? Everybody's anatomy sits different, period. And so What we have learned from a feedback that can be a little bit comparison to what a micro penis would person with a micro penis would experience is the fact that we have a lot of transgender people who are, of course, on hormones. Hormones automatically make the clitoris enlarge, and so some clitorises are the same size as some micro penises. And so what
Yep.
we've learned from that within itself is that there's still definitely, there's no interruption with the product, with the prosthetic itself. It made us adjust where some things sat. And again, we sent out our first beta testers in 2023, and we're just now getting ready to go to market here, end of 2025, beginning of 2026. So I say that to say we've learned a lot from these people. And so one of the things that we adjusted was adjusting to the enlarged clitoris and making sure that it was comfortable no matter what. It wasn't pressing against it in some weird kind of way. They actually ended up saying that because of that enlargement and the sensation and how it sits and everything, it actually felt good. And I was like, whoa, wasn't even expecting that.
I was going to ask you about that. I heard you say in another interview, y'all might be adding some vibration functionality there to give, haptic feedback to the clitoris. Can you share? I mean, if it's trade secret, just say, yo, Ruben, shut the fuck up. But like, please share it. Sherry's like, damn, son.
No, it's all good. I would say like the number one question we get when someone is first introduced to the VDOM is, one, how does it work? And I get that part. But two, is always like, can the primary wearer of the VDOM have sensation? Do they get sensation? And the baseline product, the answer is no, but we already have it designed, mapped out. We're testing it in different parts right now where, yes, we will be incorporating a vibration mechanism for sensation for the primary user. It's just inevitable at the end of the day.
Awesome.
That is dope. So then if at that point, if you were wearing it and you were like, yo, I'm going to do my thing, Ruben, get ready, baby. Go, get ready. Sherry like, okay.
Let's go.
I mean, hey, no reason to be ashamed. You never know. I think you'd look good with it. However, you know what I mean? However it works out. It makes me think of like decisions. Mandy is always talking about, yeah, exactly. She's always talking about pegging and stuff. So like, I very much appreciate it. And I in all seriousness though, it is one of those things like there's no shame. Like we shouldn't be ashamed of it. We got to talk about these things if we want to like overcome all that shame and stuff.
I was going to ask about the customization.
Yes.
When you first started out, everything was custom. It was custom made, correct, per person who ordered it. Is it still that way?
Yes, so we've done some offloading to more mass manufacturing, but there are still certain things that you just have to keep in house until you can really scale up with the manufacturer to be able to do things exactly how you want it to be done. So 50% of it used to be 90% was in-house and then 10% was in manufacturing, but now we have 50% manufacturing and still 50% still in-house. And at the end of the day, those aspects that are still in-house are the customizations of the actual outer skin, because we want to make sure that it's as ultra-humanistic as possible. So that means that there has to be a very serious level of mixture when it comes to our medical grade, products. And then we also do an actual hand painting job as well. That's actually
dope.
Finishes off the product as well.
Yeah,
so yes.
So you have, am I cutting off?
No. You
I was
can
going to say,
I was going to.
So in terms of customization right now, also you have a few colors or
14
a lot
we
more
heard
than a
on
few
one
colors.
of your conversations,
And those
right?
colors don't include pink, purple, blue.
No, they do not.
The American flag.
They do not. So yes, we started out with 3 baseline colors. We're now up to 14. And the 14 actually, there's actually truly like 9 solid colors if someone can come pick from, but then you can also go up to 14 because we will do some customization for an extra charge just because it goes back to, right, we just launched a skin matching system about 2 months ago where we use AI to actually, a person can send in a picture of their forearm or their leg or their thigh, and we can actually let the system color match to them. And if they
That's
color
dope.
match with a certain tone, then that goes to an extra customization, which is what pushes us to those 14 skin tones. And so that's where the difference is for sure right there. But then it also comes in 2 different sizes. We have an 8-inch, we have a 6-inch. We used to have a 4 that didn't go quite over too well, so we took that off. But we have an 8, 6-inch, and then the 14 different skin tones.
That is dope. Can you share about what the girth is like?
I will say that we took a lot of data to get our girth.
You're like, I will say.
I will say this because I didn't know how serious it was. I mean, a lesbian woman, I'm not dealing with, penis is too much. Strap-ons, yes, but strap-ons is like one size fits all, at the end of the day. And so I didn't really understand the depths of girth until we really started putting it out there. And that question was coming up every single time. And I'm like, let me go research girth now. And so what we did though was like I took a lot of data on, the averages, sizes of, the human anatomy and try to, again, match it up as closely as possible. And so with the girth though, we came down to a size that because the VDOM is not only just a shower, it's a grower as well. We had to take into consideration making sure that the girth didn't go outside of, the average penis size. And so the girth on it right now is no more than 2.5 inches. We have some that's 2.5 and we have some that are at 2.1. And so that's like the in between of the average girth size. And so that's how we approached it.
Oh, that's nice. I'm sure the cool thing about that is your girth will stay nice and firm the entire duration versus being like inconsistent, which is cool, in my opinion.
Never changes. It never changes.
Speaking of that, when it's erect, does it feel like hard but soft, like a
biological penis sort of?
And when
Yes,
it's soft,
it actually does.
when
It
it's
actually
down,
does.
is it like, does it, how soft does it get? Or is it just kind of hiding?
Like a turtle. You're like,
Is it just kind of tucking down?
Let me put it this way.
Am I not turtly enough for the turtle club?
Let me put it this way. This is the best way to describe that. So the VDOM, let's just, as an example, our 8-inch VDOM starts out at 7.48 inches from the base, right? Once it's in full erection, it's exactly at 8 inches. So it grows.
That's so cool.
It grows, right? And so,
that is
so
dope.
so because of that, every single time you're going to have a extremely hard on. Now, you can stop the VDOM as it's getting an erection to your hardness.
Oh,
That's amazing.
you truly went bionic. This is like $6 million man type shit right here.
Better, stronger, faster.
I'm telling you, our goal was ultra-humanistic, ultra-humanistic, ultra-humanistic. So because of that reason, we made it ultra-humanistic.
So cool.
And so you can stop it and have, a little bit more softness versus hard. But no, it definitely, it's two different aspects. One, it gets very hard. It gets hard to the exact inches that we're selling. That's the first part. And when it's hard at that extension, it is extremely hard, right? Mm-hmm. But the second layer to that is the way we make our skin. So our skin is movable, it's stretchy. You can literally, it glides with your hand just like the real thing. I feel like I'm doing like this right now. But it can actually, the skin moves on it. And we had to do that for two reasons. One, we wanted it to be ultra-humanistic. But then two, that's the way that it's durable, right? At the end of the day, if you have something that's just static and doesn't really truly move, it's going to tear up. It's going to tear up at some point, right? And so that was all the thought process that went into that. But yeah, to answer your question, it does everything the real thing does.
That's so cool.
That is really dope.
And when it gets, when you want it tucked away, but while you're wearing it, how much of like a, what do you call it?
A bulge?
Yeah, a bulge. Like how
Like
much of
new
a
school
bulge?
skinny jeans like that.
Can you have a little bulge and a big bulge, or is it like one size fits
You
all?
can have a little bulge, big bulge. I have a picture from 4 years ago of me wearing it. I had on some really tight little shorts, and you could not tell that I had it on at all. And I wore it around all day. That was the first time I was checking out how flaccid it could actually get without me having to tuck. And so, like right now, if we had to look at it, this is how flat it can actually get, and that's the testicles. And the only width of this is the actual internal manifold that actually holds all the mechanics together. It's the width of that. Outside of that,
That's
that
amazing.
it can literally go flaccid as you possibly want. So you can show a bulge or not show a bulge.
That is
How do
cool.
investors see this
And not invest.
See this
And not be like take my money, motherfucker.
Yeah.
How are they not?
I can just see so many use cases. That is
You
amazing.
would think so, right? Unfortunately, this is the truth of it. You have one set of investors that are like, here's my check. You have another set that's like, oh my gosh, she said penis. That's it. That's the difference.
True. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
period and point blank. That's the difference. And we're in the United
And
States.
that's where we go back to religion and social constructs and the discomfort around sexuality and genitals are part of that whole conversation.
Yep, exactly.
So could you wear it with like, say, could she wear it with like, say, booty shorts?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
I mean, it
Really?
sounds like it.
That, well, I'm just asking, maybe because I just want to picture it
And
too.
because
but-
it's not, I don't know that we said this yet at all, that it's not in any kind of strap on or anything. It's built into the underwear.
That's
so it's like
exactly.
right up against your body. It's like natural. You wouldn't see it through your clothing in any way, no, other than like what a biological penis would look like.
Exactly.
Or in this case, like flat.
If if I have an injury to my genitals and like with a lot of injuries you have like either scar tissue or incredibly sensitive skin, is it the material soft enough where someone who has that situation where they're injured and their skin is really sensitive and they want to wear a prosthetic like the VDOM, but maybe they're worried about maybe because it fits so nice and custom fit and tight like a glove, is it going to be uncomfortable for me to wear because I'm constantly feeling it against my skin where my where my healed up injury is?
Honestly,
Can you speak to that at all?
Honestly, I don't have an answer for that because that's going to be a case by case basis, and because we can't really, imitate that type of scenario, I really don't have an answer for it. It's. I will say this though: the materials that we use on the back side of it are very, very soft. Where the strength in the actual prosthetic comes from is there's a groove right where it connects to the O-ring on the actual underwear. That is the only rigid spot in the entire product itself when it comes to the skin, and that never has interaction with the body at all.
Okay, that
So
is
it's
awesome.
basically like a pillow, a little bit of rigid, and then the shaft of the product. So I would
That's
say
awesome.
that that's the only thing I can speak to. But as far as like how the end result may be or the experience, I'm not quite sure on it.
No, that's awesome. And I asked just because I'm sure, having had injury and all that, and I would assume exactly what you just said. In case folks may, have the question and maybe they don't have the
I was
opportunity
going to
to
say
ask.
too, that's a good reason to join y'all's community because y'all actually listen to your customers and want to hear from them and want to know what works and doesn't work. So people, they get it and they want to join the community and help y'all build the best product.
It's the only way. It's honestly the only way. I am a lesbian. I'm not versed in this space. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I have to listen to customer feedback. I have to listen to experiences. It's the only way to build a product like this.
I love how y'all are so direct and looking for feedback, and then you actually do something with it when the customers give it to you. I think
Yeah.
that's really dope.
Yeah.
So if you're watching and you have questions, please, become part of the community. I know, like, you can get on the VDOM newsletter. You
I
can
was
follow
gonna
them on
say,
social.
How do folks?
Okay, yeah, I'll let Glenise
Well, first,
speak for
where
herself.
is the product available now? Can people get it today? And then, like Ruben said, where's all the places that like they can join your community, stay in touch, learn more, learn before they buy, whatever.
Absolutely. So there's a couple of different answers to that. We are currently pre-ordering for our next run. So we're doing our inventory and runs right now. So we have a December run that just closed out. We just opened up our February run, and so people can pre-order it, and then we ship it a couple of weeks later until we actually are able to catch up with inventory. Because the beautiful and the nightmare part of this is that we have 42,000 plus people on our wait list, and that's even more now. So I didn't
Damn.
see that coming. That's a lot of inventory, and we're still a startup at the end of the day. Investors, holla at me, please. So people can actually pre-order it, and then we ship it later. We are very transparent and upfront. The sometimes experience delays, that's just the nature of the business. We're not making, Cheerios over here. So people can pre-order the product. We are building out our own community platform. We've been so censored on social media. It's just not our 100% go-to space anymore. And a lot of our people like to talk to each other. And when those people started getting censored, we said, fuck this, we're going to start our own platform. So people can go to our website and click on community and connect on our community platform for a safer, uncensored environment to have any of your questions answered. either privately or in public. The other pieces is that definitely sign up for our email list. We have a ongoing information that is being delivered from our email list, and that's simply go to our website, sign up on our newsletter at the bottom of the page where the pop-up that comes up, and keep following us. And of course, IG, excuse me, on IG, you can follow us at the VDOM, the.VDOM. YouTube, we're starting to kick up YouTube a little bit more because people want more visuals. And so you can follow us on YouTube at the VDOM ATL, and then TikTok. We're just getting our feet wet with TikTok, so bear with us. But you can also follow us on TikTok, the.VDOM as well.
I love that. I love how inclusive y'all are too, for folks who don't already know, whether it's gender, orientation, ethnicity. Y'all are super inclusive. I really love it. You can see it, everything from the marketing, the website, all of it. So I feel like your community is just going to be like a beautiful example of that. So folks, I don't feel like they can go wrong by like connecting and linking up with you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that for sure. One thing that we always try to be is inclusive, because this world is doing a damn good job of trying to make things not inclusive, right? So we're going to spend 10 toes on making that, a part of our identity.
I think that's really dope. So
last question, is there anything that we didn't ask that you think you would like the people to know, or that we should have asked you?
The only thing I could think of that you probably didn't ask was how hard of a journey this has been. It's
that's
not
a big question too.
hard. I will say startup life is one thing, but building something that you truly believe in, that you want to be impactful, like you really care about the impact. You don't care about money. You don't care about all these things. It is very mentally, emotionally, physically draining. You lose yourself sometimes. And I would just say, like, to anyone who wants to jump in, those are scary things. But if you really truly believe in what you're doing and the impact that it's going to have, it's not for the faint of heart, but go for it.
How do you find community to carry you through, to help you carry you through that? Because I feel that 100%. We go through that ourselves, and Sextech and Chill is an example of that for us. How do you find community to help you through that, and then find community that is also sex positive as well, because of the type of product you're doing? Because I know not every entrepreneurial community is going to be a good fit when you're doing products that are centering and celebrating a lot of community groups and products that are on the other side of the table constantly being vilified and demonized.
Finding people like y'all, like real talk, finding people like y'all and being able to connect with other people just like y'all. Like, we're all in this together. We all have a same belief level system, and we all are going for the same thing, right? It's to change the narrative around this space, right? We all have that same connection. And so it's finding people like y'all that we can actually lean on and talk to and say, how are you experiencing these things? Have a safe space. You know what I mean? To me, that's the best thing. There's been so many times I've been in tech spaces. I mean, we presented at TechCrunch last year, as you mentioned. Well, not last year, but 2024.
I was just saying last year.
We're not 2025 anymore. But I was the only sex-related product in that, arena. So we were the sore thumb in the room. But at the end of the day, I knew what our mission was, and it was to educate. And we had thousands of people come to our booth. We were having crowds of at least 30 people. I know 30 people, and the people in the back couldn't even hear, but they just were so interested, and we leveraged that. So for our community in the sex tech industry, and the sex industry period, we have to leverage our opportunities and not worry about what other people are going to say or what they're going to do, and just go for it. And at the end of the day, people like y'all. So
I appreciate that. I feel like, in addition to obviously medically accurate, science-backed sex ed, we need conversations like this to help change the conversation in a way that our culture approaches sexuality, gender, sexual orientation, and all of that. Because there's so many voices that are not being at the table. I mean, I love that. Essentially, the way I see it, at least, is you made your own table. You said, I'm going to bring this thing to life. And I know, like, you have talked about how your mom was a huge supporter. Your family were a big supporter in helping you even build this business up. Your wife has been a supporter, and like, you built your own thing. You built it. You said, I don't need to be a seat at the table right now. I'm gonna build this thing. And now you've built it, and people who want to get on board, please get on board. I know Cindy Gallup and her camp has been big supporters of you.
Absolutely.
If people are interested in trying to invest, can you tell us a little bit about how that would work, or if you're even open to that, and where they can find out more information on that side of things?
Absolutely. The only way to really find out information about it is to reach out to me directly. Email is I don't hide it, gmore@skimutech.com. But we are definitely taking investment. I have put in my own money, hundreds of thousands of dollars. We were able to also raise through our family and friends as well. And then we won some pitch competitions that probably weren't even ready for us. But hey, we went on stage anyway. Fuck it. And so we definitely are taking investment. We're finishing out our current fundraising round. And with our last 250,000, minimum check size is 20,000. And so we'll be doing that until we're actually able to self-sustain. And the only reason why is because demand is way bigger than we thought it was going to be. And so we have a lot of upfront cost. And unfortunately, with this current administration, they just made things a little bit harder for us when it comes to, working with overseas entities as well. So, yep, we are definitely raising right now. And so we will be until we can get to self-sustainability.
Glenise, you are a pleasure. Like, I cannot say enough good things about you.
Appreciate y'all.
Been like my cousin. You know what I mean? Yo, this has been dope.
Yeah, until next time.
Yeah, until next time.
Next time.
So yeah, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. If y'all like this episode, I always forget to do this. Please like and subscribe. We always use your support. If you're feeling this, share it with your friends, share it in your network. You want more of this, let us know what you liked about it, or if there's somebody you would love to see us talk to, please, reach out and let us know, or have them reach out. We love doing this. We're hoping that y'all are getting the same type of kind of boost from it that we get every time we have these conversations. So thank you very much again. You can find us on the socials and all that under Sextech and Chill. Website, sextechandchill.com. I just stole your outro. My bad.
I was going to say, and with that,
as always, I am Yo Big Rube.
and I'm your girl, Sherry J.
And
Glenise, did you tell everybody where they can find you?
yeah, she did. But tell us
Okay.
again.
I'm
Feel
gonna tell
free.
y'all again. If y'all want to find us on social media, you can find us on IG and TikTok at
Oh, yes, you did. I'm so sorry.
the.vdom, and on YouTube, the VDOM ATL, and Facebook, the VDOM ATL as well. And our website is www.thevdom.com.
Okay,
Perfect.
peace.
Thank you.
Peace, y'all. See you later and all that good stuff.
Innovation. This is something that's going to change the intimacy in a room for a lot of people.